So hello there, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending where you are. I'm Dr. Anna, and we're going to work together today with speaking. It's the masterclass. It's wonderful to be here with all of you. I hope you're all well and ready for a very nice class. I'll be inviting students to participate live, so get your microphones ready, and we're going to work together. In the chat box, you can select everyone. When you select everyone, all the students and me, we can see your message. When you select hosts and panelists, only me, the teacher, I can see your message. Just to double check, is everything nice and clear on my screen? Can you see the screen? Can you hear me? Everything is fine? Yep, thank you for the feedback. Lots of students. For those of you who have already joined me, welcome back. For those of you who are new, welcome to the speaking class today. Yes, you can practice speaking here. Samra, good to see you here. Many students that I have met previously, it's great to see you all again. And for the newcomers, welcome to class. So today we're going to be working with speaking. It takes approximately 11 to 14 minutes. Tatiana, great to see you too. And it's divided in 3 parts. It's a one-to-one with an examiner. Now, if you can, before going for your speaking test, double check with your test center, because depending on the test center, they are doing it through Zoom. Even if you go to the test center, you don't really sit with the examiner face-to-face. The system is Zoom system. So just to double check so you know what to expect. Okay, it's nice to know what to expect. So check with the test center, the method or the process that they're using to apply the speaking test. Okay, it's wonderful to see a nice active chat box. You guys are great. And in part 1, it's personal questions, but don't take it for granted. Trust me, you are already being scored. Part 2, it's the cue card, the 2-minute talk. And part 3 is the discussion. Today, we're going to focus on part 1 and 2. And in another class, we will focus on 2 and 3. So in part 1, it takes 4 to 5 minutes, part 2, 3 to 4 minutes, and then the discussion 4 to 5 minutes. So it's all kind of like step by step, but it's on the timer. Okay, so students who cannot hear me, can you guys help Khadija and suggest what he can do as a student? Because my end is slightly different from your end as a student. So if you guys can help him, that would be so nice. So you will be scored in 4 criterion. It all adds up. It's 25% each. This examiner will score you for fluency, lexical resource, grammar, and pronunciation. Now, remember that IELTS is a foreign language test. So, of course, native speakers sometimes even have to take it, but the test is designed and it's scored as a second language test. So the mother tongue influence is not going to be a barrier for you to get a good score. What will be a barrier is wrong sounds, pronouncing wrong word stress. Lexical resource, Hamida, means vocabulary variety, and accuracy. So what is an example of vocabulary variety and accuracy? Let's suppose you're going to describe food. Food, you can even say that it's beautiful. It's a beautiful dish. But food, there's more related to crunchy, salty, hot, fresh, juicy. So adjectives that are more appropriate to describe food, that tasty, there you go, delicious, beautiful. Carmen, great to have you here. So there are many other words that not only beautiful dish, we can say, oh, this is a beautiful dish, but it's not accurate and specific for food, okay? So that's vocabulary. Now, when it comes to sentence variety, grammar, it's all about sentence variety. You should always try to include conditionals. And conditionals, it's very good when you're going to give examples. You can always use conditional sentences, for example. So if, in case, So if I had the time, mouth watering, that's a very good one for breathe, for cuisine, of course. So before you start the test, there is an identity check. Once again, if the test is done in Zoom, the identity check will be done at reception, not with the teacher on Zoom. Okay, so that's why it's interesting that you know just what to expect. This part you are not scored, but still we want them to start off with the right foot, right? And not being confident. So it's always nice to practice and to be aware of what is expected. So the examiner will introduce himself or herself. Then they will ask your full name and even ask you what you like to be called. Because since, once again, it's an international scenario, many people have Western names that they have adopted. So they always ask you what you would like to be called. And then, can you tell me where you're from? And can I see your ID? Preferably always the passport. In this part, you give short, factual answers here, and this is not scored. Okay. Now, in part one, as I said, it's all about personal questions. But there is a pattern to the personal questions. In this part, they are mostly evaluating your skills of verb tenses. So the questions come in varied verb tenses. Have you ever? Did you? Will you? Is there? Are there? So it's varied at the different verb structures and verb tenses. And also, the questions, you should not extend too much. The examiner has a list of questions that he has to ask you, 10 to 12 questions on average. If you start to extend your answer too much, some examiners may interrupt you to move on to the next question. Some examiners may allow you to extend, and then you may be answering the next question, so then the examiner will skip. Each examiner has their own, method and approach. That's why plan to always work with 2 to 3 sentences for part one. If the examiner would like to know more information, he will ask you follow-up questions. Okay, so don't worry about extending too much. So, Prapreet, the first thing that you have to really practice is fluency and pronunciation. And of course, recording yourself. It's kind of traumatic to listen to yourself, when you're speaking, even when you make mistakes. But trust me, it does have a very strong impact on your learning. So work with recording, that's very helpful. And of course, a speaking partner. Okay, so here we go. The questions are personal, simple, differently from part three. In part one, you can use personal examples, personal information. Synonyms, anurag, kind of like yes, they are essential because that will show vocabulary variety. Now, of course, you don't have to paraphrase and use synonyms for every single word, but for some keywords, for example, if I ask you, what do you like about your job? Well, then you're going to try to say, well, in my work or my occupation or what I do, or in my line of work, in my line of business. So you just avoid repeating the word job, because job is a word that is easily, replaced. So you can easily use synonyms. Now, there are some words such as environment, for instance. It's a hard word to find a synonym. So even the examiner knows that and will understand. Methods. So methods will help you expose to the examiner your vocabulary range, your competence in the verb tenses, and of course, help you extend your answers enough. Because sometimes students struggle either to stop speaking because they start answering and then they extend the answer, or sometimes on the contrary, they just don't manage to, add information enough. Ayush, that's a good one. I love my job because it is extremely interactive with nature and I get to meet a lot of new people each day. That's very good. Just always be careful with the verb get, okay? The verb get is a very useful verb, but there's a saying in English that if you don't know what verb to use get. Kind of like it'll substitute and it'll make sense in most sentences. So here, interactive with nature, and I meet a lot of new people. Okay, so you don't really have to say, and I get to meet. I meet, okay, for good English. These are some strategies that you can use to extend your answers. When to stop in part one. So that's it, 2 to 3 sentences, or when the examiner says, thank you. Now, depending on the question type, you will learn after you practice a couple of questions, which method goes well with a certain type of question. So if I asked you, did you enjoy art lessons when you were in school? Well, then you're going to compare past to present. That's a possibility. So that's one option, how your experience in art in school and nowadays. You can also say yes or no, but you don't start with yes or no. And you can provide details. So in case if yes, why you enjoyed it. If not, why not? So with time, you will learn the methods that you can use for each type of question. Okay. As far as I can tell, I did, right, Noranta, Noranita, because the question was, did you enjoy art lessons in school? So as far as I can tell, yes, I did. Or as far as I can remember and not tell, right? Mostly remember because, I mean, school was a long time ago. We're going to listen to some samples in part one, and then I'm going to invite you guys to participate. Meanwhile, you can send in your questions. I will still be here in the chat box while the recording is on. Here we go. We'll be back.
Now, let's talk about nature. Do you enjoy spending time in nature?
Oh, of course. There's nothing like it. I work and live in a really busy city. It's chaotic and crowded and polluted and whatnot. Life can be really stressful. So, any chance I get, I head out to the countryside or the mountains. Actually, I read something recently about how being in nature and even just hearing the sounds of nature can help to reduce anxiety. So, yeah, I really enjoy that.
Now is an opportunity for you to analyze the answer and analyze how the methods were applied. So Talita is asking if it's okay to start with oh, of course, because it's slightly informal, I would say. But yes, you can do this in IELTS. What you should avoid is saying yes, I do, or no, I don't. That's a very standardized answer. Okay. You don't have to be completely formal. You can be slightly informal. What you can do not use like what we call street English, wanna, gonna, and things like that. Okay. Ain't, I ain't. So don't use this type of language, but informal with appropriateness, you can. As they say, so yeah, I enjoy that. So this, yeah, it's also slightly informal, but it's okay. One more, here we go.
Are there natural places near where you live?
Sadly, no. Oh, well, that's not entirely true. We're quite lucky here in Melbourne because we've got lots of green space around, lots of
One
public
more?
gardens. In fact, just near my apartment, there's this gorgeous garden. It's called the Botanical Gardens. It's got a lake and huge trees around. At lunchtime, it's just full of office workers and school kids. We don't have this kind of thing in big cities where I originally come from, so I really like this.
So here's a chance for you guys to, there you go, that's it, Carly. To compare and check methods. So, for instance, Ayush has just sent in a comment in the chat box, and this is very common that many students do. I'm just going to copy because since she sent it here too. So, the questions, are there natural places near where you live? So there are plenty. I have beautiful parks. So it's not really have. In English, you have to be a little bit careful with the verb have. You will use have mostly in the sense of when you own something. I have like, I have 2 kids. Those are mine for sure. And so you will use have when there's a sense of ownership to it. If it really doesn't belong to anyone, then you will use the structure there is and there are. Okay, so yes, there are plenty of beautiful parks in my vicinity. So you would eliminate this I have here, which is quite a common, okay, slip when students are speaking. Okay, here we go then. Moving on. So at the beginning, she says no and yes. Well, it's kind of like, it's a very spontaneous answer. So sadly, no. Oh, well, that's not entirely true. We're quite lucky here in Melbourne. So she kind of like goes, she kind of like reviews what she said to adjust it. Okay. It's okay when you do that. Voice hesitations marked down. Okay. Yes, Kunal. Hesitations, they will. Now, there are 2 types of hesitations. Okay. Hesitations that are brief and kind of like you're just organizing your mindset. And when you continue your answer, you're back on track with good vocabulary. And others that the student or the test taker will hesitate because he's kind of like lost of what to say. He can't generate an idea. He can't come up with vocabulary. And when the test taker continues the answer, it's unstable, uncertain. So then definitely you will be marked down, okay? Okay, like you know, you should avoid that because it's something that people repeat many times, test taker. Like you know, like, it's like very common to see students repeating it, okay? Okay, Minley, you were advised to speak around 15 seconds. It sounds reasonable. It will add up to 2 or 3 sentences, okay? Once again, you should avoid those straight answers. So what do you do? I'm a teacher. No, so I'm a teacher. I teach in upper education in a public college, so on and so on. So always extend a little bit and give some details. And I love my job, of course, okay? Okay, so Kane West used like you know too much. I've watched his interview. Oh, yeah, he does. Kanye West, he does. But he's a rapper, right? He can do that. Okay, so do you enjoy spending time in nature? And are there natural places near where you live? Who would like to answer these questions? Okay, Ayushi, wonderful. So they're going to, Charlie is going to help me organize. For those of you on YouTube, it's so nice to have you all here. Hamida, okay, so we're going to start one by one. And I will score you according to the criteria. So the four, we're going to talk about fluency, vocabulary, grammar, and of course, cohesion. So Charlie, is Ayush live already?
I think I am. Anna, can you hear me?
Oh, hey, there you go. Wonderful. Hello, Ayush. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you. The session's going amazing. So thank you for that too.
Thank you. Okay, so do you enjoy spending time in nature?
Yes, probably because I really like to de-stress myself after a very hectic day at work. So I work in a big bank where we have a lot of transactions and a lot of things flowing around continuously that creates a very stressful environment. And nature is one thing which helps me rejuvenate time again and again. So yeah, I really enjoy my time at nature.
Okay, so that the fluency was very nice, definitely. And then you use some very nice collocations, right? A lot of transactions happening on, and nature rejuvenates. So these are very nice collocations that you use. Two sentences while you were going towards the end, you speed up a little bit, and then the words mesh a little, and it's not 100% clear as it is at the beginning of the sentence. So that's something natural that we kind of like speed up, but try to control that just at the end of the sentence, okay, Ayushi?
Yeah, I will. Thank you.
Yeah, and aside from that, it's a great answer. Well, detailed enough, because you talk about your job and why nature helps you, because spending time in nature helps you because of your stressful job. De-stress is not very common. We would say unstressed, that would be more common, okay?
Yeah. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much for participating. For the next question, we have volunteers there, Charlie, for question number 2. Hello? Is there anybody live there? Oh, lots of students willing to participate, Charlie. That's great, isn't it? Is there anybody else here live? Hello? Yeah.
Hi.
Hi, who's here?
Hi, Samra. It's Samra. Can you hear me?
Samra. Yes,
Yeah.
hello, Samra. How are you today?
I'm good. You unmute me. Is my voice audible?
Yep, I can hear you. Thank you so much. So here we go. Are there natural places near where you live?
Well, that's an interesting question, and I would be delighted to answer that. There are a lot of natural places near where I live. In fact, one of the most famous places is Jabal Hafid. It's a mountainous area that's covered with greenery. It's got a lot of hot springs available there. So it's one of the most famous places that is visited by inhabitants living in Alain city. So apart from that, a lot of people from different parts of the world come to this particular tourist area to visit this place and to explore the nature and its greenery.
Okay, thank you so much for your answer. That was a
Thank
nice
you.
and detailed answer. You use the structure. There are a lot of natural places. One of the most famous places, it would be, right? One of the most famous places. And then I really did not catch the full name because it's not a common name for me, but you said the name and then you explained it, the greenery, the mountains, and so on. You just repeated the most famous place more than once. Maybe that was redundant, but not apart from that particular. And Samra, there are moments, just as the previous speaker, that I think that you guys are a little bit, trying to fit in a lot of information at once. And you speed up sometimes, and a few words just mesh, and it's not as clear as other parts of your sentence, but your vowel sounds come out nice, greenery. We can hear your vowel sounds. So that's very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, guys. So as we can see, it's not easy, to answer questions. Brittany live here. I can see that. I'm very happy to see you guys participating. We're going to listen to a few more, and then we're going to have more students participating. And I'm also going to take a peek here now just to check out students in YouTube. It's great to have you here with us. I can see, you guys are really fluent, so I can see comments here from Alex, South Indian, even recognizing, okay. But once again, so the mother tongue influence is not really the problem. For those of you who have already watched my classes, I'm going to mention an example that is very common. So you take, for example, the verb prefer. Prefer is 2 syllables. In English, verbs with 2 syllables as a rule, the second syllable is stressed, okay? Now, divide. If you say prefer instead of prefer, you stress the first syllable, this is a pronunciation error, okay? And that's where you can have a penalty in word stress. Word stress, it's very common to get penalties, okay? So that's something that you can try to master. There are some rules, for example, 2 syllables, verbs, second syllable, adjectives, nouns, and adverbs, first syllable. So you can do a little bit of practice. It's fun, and it'll help you get on track with your pronunciation and avoid mistakes. Intonation too. You really have to be careful with intonation because sometimes you're making a statement, and even though you're enthusiastic about it, you have to be very, very careful not to pitch too high at the end, okay? We usually begin with a higher pitch when we're saying something that we're enthusiastic about. Here we go then, more examples, and we'll be back.
Would you rather visit the mountains or the beach?
Ooh, tough question. I really like both. I love both actually. But I think I'd go for the mountains because I really love the mountainous area and I grew up there. But now, living in a flat place, an urban area, I really miss that atmosphere and the proximity to forest and nature.
So observe now the answer. And another detail that is important, would you rather visit the mountains or the beach? Oh, there's a little typo there. Don't worry. We'll rectify that. Here we go. Or no problem whatsoever. So, I would rather visit the beach. Avoid these standardized, answers. So, tough question. Oh, here we go. Take a little minute here to analyze the answer, vocabulary used. Okay, one more coming up. Here we go.
Is it important for children to spend time in nature?
Absolutely. I mean, that's a pretty obvious answer. I think everyone would feel the same way. Being outside in the open area is just so good for you. Not just for kids, but adults as well. We all spend too much time cooped up indoors, and from a parenting point of view, there's a bit of fear, I guess, about letting kids out on their own nowadays. But to answer your question, going into the bush, the forest, whatever, it's a break from the real world. Physically, psychologically, emotionally, it's a really powerful thing. And it's a shame if we don't do it more often.
Okay, so we can see a lot of adverbs, adjectives here, some nice collocations, right? And 3 methods were included. You don't necessarily always have to include so many methods, because now, principally when you're starting to practice answering the questions and you're getting used to using methods, but as you practice, you will see that it will increase and it will be more natural to mix and blend different methods. It kind of like goes naturally, because depending on the question, of course. So here we go now. More participations. Charlie's here helping us today in the E2 Live. Okay, Gayani. So Gayani, we have a speaking mock in an hour or so, right? Yes.
Yeah, yes, really. I'm looking
Okay,
forward.
Gayani, it's great to have you here. So would you rather visit the mountains or the beach?
Well, it is very tricky questions to answer because I like both. For instance, in my childhood, I lived the place where near the beaches. Though there, I enjoyed a lot. But nowadays, I really like to go to the place surrounded by the mountains because I want to
Oh, the voice was disappeared, Gayani. I guess it's an internet issue.
meditate there. So that the place. Hello, can you hear me?
And now, yes, but we could not hear your answer after you said surrounded by. We missed that.
Okay. I like to do meditations in the places we are surrounded by the mountains. So because it's give me a chance to release my all the stresses. So that is the one of the things I enjoyed being in the mountain. But in case of beach, those days I prefer to go there early morning or in the night just to watch sunrises and sunset.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer. That was nice. And it was like relevant and a lot of nice details. Who could identify the methods that she used when said, well, in my childhood and nowadays? Could you identify this method? That's it, connecting past to present, right? Perfect, excellent. It's the past to present. Just a little, before we move on, when you talk about nowadays to do meditation, so that's very good because the verb do we use with everything that's physical and intellectual. Make is for manual, make a cake, make food. Okay, so then we're going to use make with manual, and do for physical and intellectual, do research. Comparing and connecting, that's it, Michelle, present. And giving examples of what she likes to do. When you said relieve all the stresses, we really don't use stress in plural forms in English, okay? And in the night, it's better to say at night. We say in the morning, in the afternoon, but at night, okay? Wonderful. One more, thank you, Gayani. See you soon. Any other students participating here? Yes, Charlie, do we have someone there? Hello? Hi, is there another student
Hello.
here?
Hello.
Hi, who's here?
Hello. Hi, ma'am, Mitu Akhtar.
Me too. Great to have you here, Me too. Wonderful. So here we go. You've been present in so many classes, so it's great to talk to you. Is it important for children to spend time in nature?
Absolutely. I think that being in a nature, especially for children, is very important for their mental as well as physical well-being. Because if they stay in nature and pass more time with greenery area, then they can boost their creativity as well as can inhale more fresh air, which is beneficial for their mental health, as well as they can use this outside scenery in terms of art and any kinds of artistic creativity.
Okay, that was a very nice answer. Your pronunciation, it was very good in terms of vowel sounds. Just one little slip here when you said well-being. So the ending of the word, when we have ing at the end, it's very common. So what does ing at the end of the words mean? So you have your ing. In fact, we pronounce this as an extended N, so being. Okay, so imagine that it's an N, extending. That is the correct. If you go into the dictionary and look at pronunciation, phonics, this is what you will find. But aside from that, it was very nice when you talked about that they will work on their creativity, to inhale fresh air, a very nice collocation. It is very important for their mental and physical well-being. Very good collocations. And this is definitely a plus when it comes to vocabulary.
Thank
Aside
you.
from that, I think that you did a great job. Congratulations, me too.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, guys. Oh my God, I can't believe how the clock is ticking so quickly. It's wonderful to have you guys participating. Now we're going to move on to part 2, okay? So in part 2, a card is given, a cue card, and then you will have 1 minute to prepare, and you will then present between 1.5 minutes and 2 minutes. The examiner is going to decide how much time you should speak. There are 2 methods, okay? The first one is the PPF method, which is past, present, and future. Why do I encourage students to use this method and to learn how to apply it? Because you expose to the examiner that you're competent with the 3 major verb tenses, and you transition from past to present to future. And this transition and change of verb tenses, this is really ideal for scoring, because you show your competence, which is an important skill in speaking, this transition. In the PPF method, you can use two approaches, let's suppose. One, you tell 3 separate stories. And the other one, you take one story and you develop it through time. You should avoid standardized expressions such as in the past. So instead of saying in the past, when I was a childhood or as a teenager, so avoid saying in the present, currently, nowadays, it comes to my mind, in the future. Instead of saying in the future, find a marker. After I pass my IELTS, let's suppose I'll have lots of time, something. So avoid these standardized answers. In your mind, you should have your own personal markers to use, okay? And of course, there is the traditional method. Students can get excellent scores as well with traditional methods, but with the traditional method. However, it's a little bit more demanding. You should start with a short intro. So let's suppose if you're talking about your favorite teacher, you can talk about the role teachers have or education, the importance of education. Imagine that you're doing what you do in task 2, when you have the background sentence, reword the prompt. It's kind of like this that you're doing here too in the short introduction. And then you answer the bullet points. The thing is that many times when you're going to answer the bullet points, it may take you approximately 1 minute to go through these bullet points. So what is the solution here? It talks about a time when you felt happy, not one time, but a time. So you can describe one situation that you felt happy and then say, oh, of course, luckily I've been happy many times in my life. And then you add another one, you add a second, okay? So that's the trick for you to guarantee that you extend your speaking time, okay? So now we're going to you will have 1 minute to prepare. You can take notes. Everybody, pencil and paper in hands? Yep. Let me check my chat boxes. I think there are questions. Okay. How does it work part 2? So the teacher shows the card on screen, just as we're doing right now, okay? It's very similar to what we're doing right now. Is it important to answer all the bullet points? So the card is a guide. It's not, you're not in an armor, you have to only limit yourself. You can extend, you can, principally if you're doing the PPF method, you can certainly not focus mostly on the main topic and sometimes even leave out some bullet points. That's fine. Okay, as long as you stick to the topic. Okay, here we go. So you have 1 minute to prepare now, and then we'll be back. Okay, wonderful. Is there anybody willing to participate to answer this question? Okay. There you go, Charlie. I think we have lots of candidates. It's great to have everyone here. So, is there someone live here? Hello?
Hi.
Hi, who's here?
Hi, it's Clara.
Clara, great to
Spain.
have you here with us. Wonderful. Okay, so you're taking on quite a challenge, aren't you? Here we go then. Whenever you're ready, you can begin, okay? There is a timer. So I'm going to just put the timer here. It's on, just so that you can kind of like organize yourself, okay?
Okay.
Whenever you're ready, you can begin.
Okay. I don't really like advertisements because I think that sometimes they are tricky for people. So I prefer to not seeing that. But however, advertisements that I could appreciate is like advertisements to traveling. I love traveling, so I think that is important to be well informative because before traveling to different places. For example, in the past, had it not been for one advertisements I saw in Instagram, I wouldn't have traveled to Thailand, which I really enjoyed. I went there with some friends and we traveled all around Thailand, from the south to the north and also to the capital, Bangkok, which was gorgeous and stunning. We really appreciate that. And for me, it's a cultural shock that we all should live once, at least once in life. Now, for example, I'm trying to organize different travels to know different cultures, and in the future I like to go with my friends to South America to do a trip maybe about 3 months there, and maybe I should see some advertisements or maybe not, but however I prefer another sources of information that can be more reliable. So about the sources of information, I would like to look on not Wikipedia, but maybe books, which can be more, as I said, reliable, and then travel there. For example, I have friends that love advertisements, but they sometimes are tricked by them. And they, for example, buy some clothes that are very expensive, and really if they were going to the personal... Oh.
That's very good. Clara, thank you so much for your participation. Now, it's interesting how you approach this topic about advertisement, and you say that it can be tricky, and it's true. You use a very good word here to define. And you also have here, when you say other sources that are reliable, a very good collocation as well. When you say to be you say well informated, but I think it's the influence of your mother tongue. It's well informed, but this is a very good collocation. Well, there you go. And the way you develop it, that you talk about traveling and how the fact that you found a good advertisement about traveling led you to go to this place. If it were not, so you use a nice conditional sentence here. You use because, so you do well. If I were to recommend, I would recommend that you try to work a little bit more on some vowel sounds like some, okay? So when you're saying some, cultural, cultures, okay? So making sure that the sounds are well pronounced in English. As I said, the mother tongue influence is not the issue, but the sounds. So the U and the L, cull, being clear that there are two sounds there, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for participating. Well, I'm delighted to see all of you participating. I wish we could go on and on here. It's just wonderful to have students and sharing your experiences and working with you guys to improve. Now, you will be scored on 4 criterion, okay? Fluency, lexical. You should take a picture of this checklist. It's very helpful for you to kind of like have a speaking partner, and you can work together to know what you're looking for, how you can help each other by identifying. This list, it is a summary from the band descriptors, and it includes all the elements that you should include in your answers. So take a picture, it's really worth it. And of course, big surprise, there's a package, a promo going on. You can use Anna, that's me, Anna 10, and you will get a discount. I'm checking out my chat box here to see if there are any questions. Oh, you're new here, okay. Lots of new students. I love to see newcomers as well as old comers, of course. So there are some questions here about the reading webinar. Well, we will have one. It is planned. I'm not sure the date, but keep an eye on our YouTube channel and in the E2 language, of course. Does the use of example in the second part value? Okay, so examples in part 2, definitely, they are helpful. Because when you use an example, this is how you extend your answer. So you present and you support and extend by using examples. Definitely. And the best is that you can lie. There is no lie detector. So you can even lie and use whatever example that suits best your answer to extend your answer. So that's really cool, isn't it? And so I'm checking out your test is in 9 days. Oh, wow. Okay. Good vibes to all test takers for sure. Carming, I know it's Saturday and Sunday. Talita too is taking her test Saturday or Sunday, right? If you wish to upgrade, upgrading is a very nice option because you get, so if you are a student here with us, and let's suppose you have a bronze or silver, you can upgrade, and you can upgrade right here because when you upgrade, you get additional assessments, and assessments are very valuable, okay? Well, you need a class on how to lie. Oh, that's a tough one, okay? But I mean, with lying in the sense that you really, it doesn't have to be accurate, the story, right? And you're in E2, you guys have a mock test included, and you can also purchase a second one. You should always take your mock test 1 or 2 days before your official test date. Sorry, 1 week before your official test date. It takes 1 or 2 days to be corrected. And that will give you some time when you receive the reply to try to catch up on any, content that you're short. Small group classes. I love small group classes because I can give immediate feedback to all the students participating. There are small group classes for speaking and also for task 2. So check out the schedule in your E2 platform. Graham, Sasha, and I were responsible for these classes. So, Gerline, I'm not sure your question here, not sure about which CP. Okay, any questions? Thank you so much, guys. Tatiana, Samra, great to have you all here. Lots of newcomers I love to see, and the old comers too. We'll be back soon. And on Saturday, there is the masterclass for writing, and in sequence, there is a small group class. So you guys can join me. I would love to see you there. Thank you. Much love from Nepal. Much love to Nepal as well. Take care, guys. Bye. For those of you in YouTube, thank you so much for joining us. It was delightful to be here with you. I was checking up on your comments as well. Thank you so much for joining.